Welcome to the Garland Walker and, of course, presentation of Plymouth Rocks, the Mayflower Compact at 400.
Before we get started with tonight's program, we want to update everyone on what our pupillage group has been up to.
In early March, about a dozen of us volunteered at the Houston Food Bank. Here are some pictures from that day.
We also had intended to donate our legal skills as a group to the Baker Ripley Immigration Clinic this past spring.
But even the best laid plans can't stand up to COVID, so we had to postpone that pro bono project. If all goes well, though, we'll work with Baker Ripley this coming spring.
And now, on to our show, CLE presentation. Tonight's presentation begins by joining the Zoom classroom of a group of fifth graders as they learn about the Mayflower Compact.
Distance learning sound boring? Not how these fifth graders do it. Soon, their Zoom call turns into a magical and musical trip through time to visit the pilgrims who made the Mayflower Compact.
Willful suspension of disbelief is one heck of a thing.
So who were these pilgrims? They were Protestant separatists who first fled England to the Netherlands to seek religious freedom.
Soon, however, longing for a more English way of life set in. So these Protestant separatists joined merchants and adventurers and set sail for America on the Mayflower and a sister ship, the Speedwell.
Each group had its own motivation: religious freedom, economic opportunity, or peace amidst the 30 Years' War. But they were united in their desire to establish a new way of life in the New World.
Tonight's program tells their story and the story of their compact, which was integral to the development of our system of government.
In 1620, much like in 2020, little went according to plan. The Speedwell started leaking, so its passengers joined the Mayflower, which was blown off course and eventually landed at Plymouth Rock, hundreds of miles north of its intended destination.
To keep the peace, the passengers of the Mayflower consented to a social contract to govern themselves under, in their words, just and equal laws. And so, exactly 400 years ago tomorrow, they signed the Mayflower Compact.
This Mayflower Compact governed the Plymouth colony for the next 20 years, successfully steering the people through harsh winters, the great sickness, famine, and other hardships.
As we said, tonight's presentation tells the story of the passengers of the Mayflower. Theirs is but one of the many stories that could be told of our country's founding history.
Many others also came to the New World, and some involuntarily. And of course, many more were already here, as these lands had been their home, their world, for many years.
Those stories, full of both good and ill, should also be told as part of our history. But tonight, we focus on only one slice of history, the story of those aboard the Mayflower who risked their perilous journey together and founded Plymouth Colony.
And so, without further ado, we bring you Plymouth Rocks, the Mayflower Compact at 400.
Enjoy the show.
Plymouth Rocks? That's a stupid name for a program. I do like the logo, though. It's kind of like Metallica and AC/DC squished together. I'm TNT, I'm dynamite!
Now, class, today we will be celebrating the Mayflower Compact and the sacrifices the Pilgrims made that shaped our country 400 years ago.
Sacrifices? Yeah, right. I doubt 1620 was any more difficult than 2020. They never lived through COVID-19.
You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying that being on the Mayflower can't be more difficult than being stuck at home on Zoom.
Yeah, it was pretty much an ocean cruise followed by a nice turkey dinner. Sounds pretty sweet.
Well, let's find out. The Pilgrims were a religious group that believed the Church of England was too far gone and could not be reformed. They wanted to raise their children in the faith without punishment from King James.
They were on the highway to hell.
Absolutely not.
And they left England for America to get away from King James?
Well, actually, they departed from Leiden in the Netherlands.
I didn't even know the Netherlands was a real place.
It was very real. There, the Pilgrims were not forced to attend the Church of England. But after a while, they were afraid that their children were drifting away from the faith and becoming too Dutch.
So they were too Dutch, too Dutch, too Dutch, double Dutch for sure.
You know, maybe it's hard to picture. How about instead of me telling you about the Pilgrims, I show them to you?
Really?
You know what that means.
To the Zoom bus. The wheels on the bus go zoom, zoom, zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Brothers and sisters, hear me now, William Brewster among you. We have much to decide this day. We came here together to Leiden, in the Netherlands, from our villages in England. You know that I hail from Scrooby.
Did he say Scooby? Scooby-Doo!
You know I hail from Scrooby with my wife, Mary. I was but the postmaster then. I am in part your leader now. And the question is, shall we stay here? Our minister, John Robinson, will speak, and we will receive his wisdom.
St. Paul admonished us in 2 Corinthians. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing. And so we are, and so we have been separate. We rely solely on the Bible, the Word of God. We sing psalms, not hymns for this reason. And we trust in the congregation which begins with the covenant between a group of believers and God. And in this, we have exhibited a most strict and sacred bond.
I, William Bradford, say the Church of England must be purged of its excesses, and at all costs we must be free to worship as we please. Separatists like us have been persecuted and executed for our beliefs since King James wore the crown in 1603. Did he not proclaim, I shall harry them from this land?
And so he did to us. I am James Chilton, and with wife Mary, we are the eldest among you here. When we first attempted to leave England, we were betrayed and were jailed. After punishment, on second attempt the next year, success came at a heavy cost.
For the men, having secured passage to this land, once aboard were not able to reclaim their wives and children. And so they sailed off alone and unsure. I, Mary Chilton, did not see my husband until I joined him here many months later.
I am Mary Brewster. Leiden has received us. We have survived and in some ways thrived, but it has been at a cost. Leiden is a large city of 40,000 souls. Here now, 11 years, our children have all but grown up. In truth, they lose their sense of English ancestry. They become more Dutch and less English.
I, Dorothy Bradford, agree with Mary Brewster. There was too much time to work and not enough time for worship. We came here for our families and our futures, but both are at risk. I fear the children may not long be separatists.
I am John Carver and stand before you with my wife, Catherine. As you know, I have proposed that we sail to the New World. I say we create a new English village, but one beyond the meddlesome reach of King James. One where we can speak our minds, offer our prayers, and live our lives as we alone decide.
There are 375 of us here in Leiden, and 125 have asked to travel on the first voyage to establish our new way of life.
So we are for this journey. The question only is the terms. Some of the adventurers from London seek to join us.
They risked their businesses and fortunes on the promise of prosperity in the New World.
I'm Christopher Martin, a merchant of trade. We share many of your political concerns and some of your religious beliefs. But your separatist beliefs were far too radical for England, and you're starting to cause trouble here in the Netherlands too. We propose a journey to the New World. The king still wishes to be rid of you, and so he has granted us a patent to the land just below the Hudson River.
A patent? I didn't know the Pilgrims were inventors.
I'm glad you're paying attention. A patent used in this context is a land grant, and the Pilgrims needed one to settle in the New World, long before it was called the United States.
There is land for you, free and clear, once you meet your bargain. Each family will have a share in the company for 7 years. You'll work 4 days for the company, 2 days for yourselves, and keep 1 for the Sabbath. Then we will split the profits and the capital accordingly. And each of you will own your homes and your lots.
I am William Mullins. With me is my wife Alice and my daughter Priscilla. We make this journey looking for a new life, but for different reasons. We are poor. Our fortunes in England are not good. And so we make this journey looking for a better life on distant shores.
We have our own vessel, the Speedwell. She is 50 feet in length, barely enough for an Atlantic crossing. And she will hold only we separatists. But we have need of a larger sister ship for our larger number and others, and of a captain and crew.
I am Christopher Jones, master and part owner of the merchant ship, the Mayflower. She is 100 feet from tip to stern and 25 feet at her widest point, port to starboard. I have sailed her for 11 years now. She's worthy of the sea.
I'm John Alden. As the ship's cooper.
Hey, I thought I was this show's cooper.
You are the show's Jim Cooper. I am the ship's cooper. I'm in charge of making the barrels. I keep our stores and provisions. These are our life, and I shall take good care.
We shall have between 20 and 30 additional crew. They will live above. The decks is cabin for them. You will live below, dispersed largely between 2 decks, each 5 feet tall.
I am Captain Miles Standish. You know me as a mercenary, but my wife Rose and I have lived among you, even though we are not separatists. I will be in charge of the military matters, and I pledge to you, with your help and with God's, I will keep us safe.
And I will get you there safely.
But good people, be not deceived of the dangers we will face. It must be said, many will die, perhaps most, perhaps all. Many have attempted the journey before. Most have failed on consequence of their lives.
A voyage was disaster just this past year. Packed together like herrings, as we will be, other separatists sailed for Virginia. Of those 180 souls, 130 died before reaching shore, and with the illness and lack of fresh water they suffered, it is rather wondered that even that many lived, rather than that so many died.
And forget not the colony at Jamestown. Their first winter in 1607, of the 108 settlers, 70 died in agony. More came that spring, but they called their next winter the starving time, as 440 of those 500 settlers did then and there perish.
I'm Stephen Hopkins with the Adventurers.
Paul, you don't need to be wearing your mask right now. You're all by yourself. Take it off so we can hear you.
Sorry, I'm Stephen Hopkins with the Adventurers. I was on a voyage that shipwrecked ashore in Bermuda in 1609. There was mutiny and worse. And you may have heard the story. A playwright named William Shakespeare
called it the Tempest and played it first in 1611.
Hold on. These pilgrims are going on a miserable journey? And they know that they will probably die?
Yeah, this is sounding kind of grim.
Yeah, why would they risk it? It makes no sense.
Well, they had larger concerns and a greater purpose in mind. Let's pay attention.
Brothers and sisters, I say fear not, and place your trust in the Lord and his providence. We may yet be at the end times already. A great war has started in Europe, Central Europe, pitting Protestant against Catholic. They say it could be a 30 years war. We should keep separate from it. We separatists are not like the others. We are dedicated. We are knit together as a body in a most strict and sacred bond.
With your blessing, I shall be first governor, should we arrive. And the journey is thus. From Leiden, we travel over 25 miles to port at Delfshaven. The Speedwell awaits, and we cross the channel without announcement some 300 miles to Southampton. We risk arrest and must be in and out quickly.
Arrests? Are they criminals?
Breaking the law! Breaking the law!
They were risking arrest by going back to England. It's fair to say that they had worn out their welcome. Let's keep watching.
We join with the Mayflower, and then sail onward another 3,000 miles.
By departing England in early July, we'll arrive over warm and calm seas at our charter in Virginia before August. You will have time to search for food, supplies, and build shelter before winter sets in.
So, we are decided?
Wow. What are they going to do?
Well, obviously, they didn't stay in the Netherlands.
If that's even a real place.
Okay, so class, as you know, the Pilgrims decided to uproot their lives and make the dangerous journey to the New World.
A whole new world.
Oh, okay then. Now we know from the journal of William Bradford how they felt when they left, like pilgrims wandering to an unknown place.
City of Leiden, which has been our resting place of near 12 years. For verily we know that we are pilgrims, and lift up our eyes to the heavens, our dearest country, and quiet our spirits.
Remember this as you depart. Bind yourselves together with unanimity. Consider it a compact between yourselves as brothers and sisters, and between yourselves and God. Stay together as one. Fear not. Despair not. Pray unceasingly. You shall succeed.
They're sailing away. Set an open course across a dangerous sea.
My mind's got to be free. Free to plan the life that's ahead of me.
On board, I'm your captain by common accord.
We'll search for our fortune on distant shores.
And we swear for families we'll dare. This pilgrimage. We fled our homeland, lived with the Dutch for years in the Netherlands. Times happy and sad. We watched our children grow, oh, the dreams
James wouldn't have it, and so now we go.
Yes, we'll try at risk of our lives.
It is with watery cheeks that I commend you most fervent prayers to the Lord with his blessing until we are in fellowship again and our congregation whole. William Brewster is now this Fox minister.
From Leiden back to England, unsure of what's ahead. We climbed aboard the Mayflower, and this is what we said. We said, we'll sail away, we'll sail away, we'll sail away from here now.
We'll sail away, we'll sail away, we'll sail away from here. We'll sail away, we'll sail away, we'll sail to a brand new world, yeah. We'll sail away, we'll sail away, we'll sail to a brand new world.
Terrible seas. We were terribly sick. And I remember that one profane member of the crew. He mocked us in our sickness and said he'd be glad to start putting us overboard.
And I and my wife Elizabeth, what were we thinking in even starting this journey?
These seas are hard on me, Stephen, as I am with child. And as it turns out, that dreadful crewman was one of only 2 who perished on the voyage. A miracle that only 2 died, and one was him.
And another miracle, that Elizabeth survived and gave birth to our son on this voyage.
And we christened him Oceanus.
Land ho! I aimed this for Virginia, but to my surprise,
We found ourselves on northward, fighting for our lives, praying. Come to our aid, come to our aid, come to our aid, oh please, Lord. Come to our aid, come to our aid, come to our aid, oh please. Come to our aid, come to our aid, we're starting cold and lost, Lord. Come to our aid, come to our aid, come to our aid, oh please.
So now what? They were lost and alone?
Yeah, I mean, they're over halfway there, but...
Whoa! Over halfway there! Wow! Living on a
Really?
prayer!
Bon Jovi, as they struggle for survival?
How about if we just watch and learn?
Our need is dire. We sighted land on November 9th. 65 days at sea by then. And we are still not ashore.
But you measure only from September 6th, the day finally and fully underway. But oh, the travails we experienced after leaving Holland in mid-July. Remember, we put out first from Southampton on August 5th, along with the cursed Speedwell.
But within days, she proved as open and leaky as a sieve. Water spouted through gaps in the planks. So into Dartmouth we returned for repairs.
And you, wicked Christopher Martin, you would not let us disembark, not once. We stayed cramped in here for all of 2 weeks of repairs.
This is a business venture. I cannot suffer you to go to shore, lest you should run away.
And finally, we departed again. But not until August 17th. But not 200 miles out, the Speedwell leaks again. And so back, this time to Plymouth.
And again, forced 2 more weeks to stay aboard.
With repairs, it was then into early September.
Our food stores were half eaten up before we got from the coast of England.
And so our fateful choice was made, to leave the Speedwell behind and sail on alone with only the Mayflower, with as many aboard as possible. It seemed a prosperous wind, but 'twas not to be.
We separatists had largely been aboard only the Speedwell. Forced to half our numbers, we were still vastly overcrowded on Mayflower. Of the 102 passengers on board, only 37 are separatists from Leiden.
The others are crew and adventurers, strangers among you, likened to the vast, unredeemed majority of humanity. But fair or no, we were all then in the same boat.
Cooped up and crammed the entire time, almost always below deck.
Well, I sure know what being cooped up feels like.
Yeah, they definitely weren't social distancing.
You're right. They were not staying 6 feet apart. In fact, imagine 100 people living on a tennis court, except the ceiling was only 5 feet high.
Intense gales, like the tempest written by the bard. 3 dead during the crossing alone. But one miracle, the birth of my son.
All the while, blowing us steadily northward, of course.
The Atlantic crossing was just over 3,000 miles. We have been hard at it for 60 days, meaning we've made just over 2 miles per hour this entire journey.
2 miles an hour? I could have swam there faster than that.
Cruise ships go 10 times faster than that.
It was a slow ride. Take it easy.
The people are weary. Disease is among us. We must go ashore in haste. But Captain Jones, where are we?
Where are we? You don't know?
Well, we know we are well north of our chartered land. And once here at Cape Cod, we fought 2 days hard at head south. But we fell amongst dangerous shoals and roaring breakers. And so, back north into the bay. I believe it is the only spot to put ashore.
But our patent is for areas by the Hudson Bay. That is where we have legal right, and that is where we make our profits.
As the member in charge of the ship's provisions, I tell you, we simply have no food, and we are at the slimy bottom of our water barrels.
Here I must stand, half amazed at this poor people's present condition. We have now no friends to welcome us, nor inns to entertain or refresh our weather-beaten bodies. No houses or much less towns to repair to seek for succor.
The passengers and crew are in poor health, desperate. We are out of firewood. 'Tis cold and growing colder. Winter is coming. I say and I vote that we go ashore here.
I've heard enough. I am an adventurer with my husband, John. John, you must do something, for this is madness.
You think I, John Billington, will abide by your vote? By your plans? No. You are idiots and simpletons drawing us into the jaws of death. We are outside the king's land and power. You have no command over us here. When we come ashore, we will use our own liberty, for none of you have the power to command us.
Enough from you, Billington. You will cease these discontented and mutinous speeches, or I shall restore order.
Let me break it down for you in simple words you'll understand, Standish. You're not the boss of me, and the strong shall take from the weak.
This is wrong. And John Billington, you are wrong. The only way for this settlement to succeed financially is if we all work together.
We separatists agree, not for your earthly reasons, Mr. Mullins, but heavenly. Brothers and sisters, remember what John Robinson told us. Become a body politic, using amongst yourselves civil government.
Yes, The Bible teaches the right of persons to associate and covenant to form a church and civil government, and to choose their own officers to administer public affairs.
Never. I vote with John Billington, my husband, every man for himself. Who is with us?
I'm not for you, but I am for control of the situation. At this time, those who have paid the fare should set the terms.
Standish, you're the military here. Restore order. Take charge, enforce the rules, and make them submit.
A military result will not last. But if we stand against you and your ilk, Billington, it is you who lack the power.
You know nothing of what we're up against, Billingtons. You know not this land.
It is near winter. We lack food. Many are sick, 3 are dead, and you foolish Billingtons clamor for rebellion.
What are they going to do?
They're gonna go to America if all the laws, dummy.
There was no America yet. There were no laws.
Very good. So what would you do?
I would make some rules.
Make some rules? Dude! Everybody wants to rule the world.
Rules, yeah. They need to agree on some rules.
But how can they know the rules that they need if they haven't even seen the new place yet?
Ooh.
Good point.
They can agree that they will agree.
Huh?
They can say, we agree today that whatever rules we make tomorrow, we will be bound by them.
Is that what my parents mean when they say they'll agree to disagree?
Not quite. But anyway, yes, the pilgrims and the sailors and the adventurers would agree to make a social contract.
Can we watch?
Of course.
I say we commit ourselves in writing to agree to unite our group just as we were united in England. So we work something out, right here, right now. A compact.
A compact? Like a small car?
Or a small makeup case.
No, a compact is a mutual agreement. It's the whole purpose of this play. The Mayflower Compact.
Indeed, and we must, each of us, all of us, agree to submit to the laws drawn up by duly elected officials.
All will agree to abide by this written covenant. And by God, no one gets off of this ship without having submitted and signed his name.
But what do we even say we are agreeing to? We don't know what it'll be like ashore. We don't know who or what we'll find.
This need not be complicated. For now, we simply agree that the rules we make out there by majority we will honor and abide.
Yes. And we agree to enact only just and equal laws, as thought most meet and convenient.
And not just useful, but only for the general good of the colony.
This is right and good. For is this much different than that golden rule taught to us in Matthew? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so it is, just and equal laws for the general good of our society.
A statement of purpose is right and orderly.
For the glory of God.
And for the advancement of the Christian faith.
That's all well and good, but don't forget about our good friends in London who are financing all of this.
For the honor of our dread sovereign, King James.
And the good of our country, England.
All right then. Let me now put pen to paper.
Start it thus. In the name of God, Amen.
We, whose names are underwritten, the loyal subjects of our dread sovereign Lord King James, by the grace of God, of Great Britain, France, and Ireland, King, defender of the faith, etc. Having undertaken for the glory of God and advancement of the Christian faith and the honor of our king and country, a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia.
Do by these presents solemnly and mutually in the presence of God and one another.
Covenant and combine ourselves together into a civil body politic
For a better ordering and preservation and furtherance of the ends aforesaid.
and by virtue hereof do enact, constitute, and frame such just and equal laws.
Ordinances, acts, constitutions, and officers from time to time.
As shall be thought most meet and convenient
For the general good of the colony.
unto which we promise all due submission and obedience.
In witness whereof we have
Hereunto subscribed our names at Cape Cod.
11th of November, in the reign of our Lord and Sovereign King James, of England, France, and Ireland, the 18th, and of Scotland, the 54th, Anno Domini, 1620.
All the men shall now take pen in hand and sign for them and their families.
For my wife Mary and my sons, William, Brewster.
I sign for my wife, daughter, and son.
And may the Lord have mercy on us all through this long and terrible winter.
Did they really just sing the text of the Mayflower Compact to Journeys faithfully?
I blame Jim Cooper.
No, this one is definitely on Judge Eskridge.
For the record, that was actually one of Judge Elrod's law clerks, John Greil. He's the guy playing John Alden.
Yeah, that song may have been a stretch, but more entertaining than them just reading it out loud, don't you think? Now let's get back to history. The Mayflower just went ashore at Plymouth.
But what happened once they got there?
Well, the Pilgrims had a very hard winter ahead. I mean, very hard.
And they still haven't found what they're looking for.
No, I mean really hard. Of 102 passengers, only 51 survived.
Whoa.
Now, class, let's see what happened.
I made the journey with my wife Mary and sons Love and Wrestling, ages 6 and 9. I know not why that illness and death did not visit my family, but 'twas a scourge, a famine, and of bitterest cold.
We had not the time to build proper shelters before winter settled in with a vengeance. And so from November of 1620 until now, April of 1621, we took refuge in the only place we had, the 3 decks placed within the awful and cramped 100 feet by 25 feet of the Mayflower.
There were 102 of us passengers aboard the Mayflower. Almost half of us, 45 in total, did not survive the first winter. And neither did I. For I, Dorothy Bradford, fell overboard in the cold harbor of December 1620 and drowned.
I, James Chilton, was the eldest aboard at age 64. I died of a general weakness on December 8th, less than a month from arrival.
As did I, following after my husband in what was called the general sickness. But our daughter, Mary, age 13, survived until 1679 with her descendants in this land to this day.
I, Rose Standish, also passed that winter. My husband Miles soldiered on without me. We had no children, but he remarried in 1624 and then had 7 children.
I, John Carver, was to be the first governor. I wrote the Mayflower Compact, and I was its first signer. I survived that winter until April 5th, the very day the Mayflower sailed on return to England, when I fell unexplainably ill and rapidly passed.
And I, Catherine Carver, would survive but 6 weeks without him. But in that time, I saw the colony wisely name William Bradford as his successor.
I, Christopher Martin, was governor aboard the Speedwell until she was taken out of service. I planned much of this journey, but was not able to see it through. I died in January during the general sickness of the first infection, as did my entire family, wife Mary, son Solomon.
I, William Mullins, had great plans for riches and wealth. I was a shoemaker and a merchant, and I made the journey with 250 pairs of shoes and 13 pairs of boots as stock for sale. My optimism was not enough. The illness took me on February 21st, as well as my son Joseph, age 14.
And me, Alice Mullins, but not our daughter Priscilla. She survived. We left her as a girl of 17, all alone in the world with no family, as were many of the others. What would become of them?
These times changed us all, but there were glimmers of hope. Oceanus Hopkins, born on the voyage, thrived, and as we harbored this winter, our first child, born in New England, joined us. A son to William, now deceased, and Susanna White, and they named him Peregrine, from the Latin for pilgrim.
Wow, that was really depressing.
But the Pilgrims had faith. And now I hope you understand the sacrifices they made, and that even with the difficulty around them, they never stopped believing.
Whoa, Journey comes back again. Don't stop believing. Hang on to that feeling.
In a lot of ways, we've had it rough these past months since March, between the lockdowns and the quarantines and school and work being interrupted.
A lot of fear for health, particularly our grandparents and those that were vulnerable.
Not knowing if we'll get to be with our friends again. Not knowing if we'll ever get to go to the movies again or do any of the usual things in the normal way.
It's been a lot to take in, but I think it's given me a better appreciation of what the Mayflower must have been like in those first few years.
And they came through it to the other side, as will we. And it is something to be thankful for.
Oh, so that's why we associate the Pilgrims with Thanksgiving.
Because even though it was really hard, they were still thankful.
Miss Mullins, the Mayflower prepares to leave. Your parents are deceased, and I wonder, who will protect you and support you? Have you considered returning with us to England?
Thank you, John Alden. You have been most kind to me, but I will stay with my brothers and sisters and trust that the Lord will keep us safe.
I wonder If I didn't leave on the Mayflower, if I didn't leave for England, I wonder, Priscilla, if you would have me, I would protect you and keep you until my last breath.
Yes. Yes, John Alden, I would have you as my husband.
Master Jones, I'm sorry, but I will not be making the return home to England. My home is here now.
Good choice, lad, and a right honorable one at that. God fare thee well.
Thank you, sir. You provided far more service and passage and shelter than was the bargain. Your place in history is secure.
And yours, sir, if you survive. You have lost half of your people, and I have lost half of my crew. And now I return from whence we journeyed. What is your plan?
Our landing parties have been ashore several times through winter. It is a hard land. One found a deserted village of sorts with skulls and bones in many places still lying above the ground. It is a very sad spectacle to behold. A plague of sorts has wiped out the local inhabitants of the sort that has now taken a toll on our numbers.
But I will continue to lead expeditions. We clashed with the natives on first encounter in December, with musket fire and arrows exchanged. But we have seen them, and them us, at times since. And we have tried communication. I say we will continue to make parley and treaty. And if they will help us, we will be glad for it.
And plans to keep order? To survive?
Our compact survives. We will repair frequently and consult one another. And we will set the course and dispense discipline as needed.
Then we depart. And God keep and save you all.
And you and your crew, eternal thanks.
We are in dangerous times, but the compact has served us well. We have set all to work together and to care for one another. And when even in our weakened state 2 of us quarreled to the point of engaging in a duel, they were justly sentenced to have their hands and feet tied until recanting their crimes.
We are now alone. We must prepare for safety.
We plainly must establish military orders among ourselves, and I, Miles Standish, shall lead you.
You are no better soldier, cowering by the fire while the sick guard us as we bury the dead. We should not bear arms or be subject to your rule.
Again? Must I endure all of this from you again, Billington? Did we not all agree to this plan? You should rest by the fire before you stoke trouble. You are tired.
I am tired. I am tired of treating the sick and lame, of washing loaves and clothes, and I am weary of burying the dead. I do not agree to be part of your militia as well as your hospital.
You agreed to be bound with the compact we all signed. You are obligated to be ruled by the laws of the people of this colony, and I say we need more drills for any coming attack.
Your wife perished from a lack of food, Standish, not the lack of drills.
How dare you, sir, you foul-mouthed miscreant!
There you are, going off again, like a chimney soon fire.
Wait! Stop it, you two. Half of our colony is dead. The other half is sick. Forget not that at our lowest point, we had only 12 healthy and functioning enough among us to take care of the near 40 of us who were sick and dying. But we are through it now, to the other side.
The Billingtons and the Brewsters have both been blessed with health and strength, and it is not wrong or too much to ask that those who are strong should help the weak. When the shoe goes on the other foot, and it will, those we care for now will care for us.
I have sympathy to that, but I have now thought better of the compact that we signed on the Mayflower. I now say let us be ruled by his or her own liberty. We are beyond our patent. That means that the king's rule has no effect here. This colony has failed. Let us divide up what we have and see what happens now that the winter thaws.
Listen here. Governor Carter charged me as captain to uphold the law, not condemn it. William Bradford has extended my charge.
We did not do as you asked. How will you force us, Captain Shrimp?
I will not stand for...
Stand? At standing, your height is no more than a silly boy's.
Governor Bradford, I submit this is now a breach of our laws. The compact binds me as it does him and you. Shall we have further chaos? Or shall we have order and requirement to work together?
We have all agreed to work for the common benefit of this colony and under our own laws. And John Billington, we have had enough of your mutinous talk. You have been covenanted before the whole company for your contempt of the captain's lawful command. Under our laws, you shall have your neck and feet bound together in a public display until such time as you sincerely ask for forgiveness and receive it.
Please, no. My husband didn't mean it. John, you best recant.
Eleanor is right, and I am tired.
We are all tired, but none others speak as you. We agreed to the general good of the colony in the compact, knowing that this would be hard. And I say to you what I thought would be most obvious: united we stand, divided we shall surely perish.
Please, it being his first offense, give him pardon.
What say you, John Billington?
I find I must humble myself and crave pardon. I am not in my right mind. We all suffer. Please, I shall make trouble no more.
These are hard and difficult beginnings, and we have found some discontents and murmurings arise among some, and mutinous speeches. But these will be soon quelled and overcome by wisdom, patience, and just and equal carriage by the laws, which cleave us faithfully together in the main. John Billington, it being your first offense, and words only, you are forgiven.
And Captain Standish, could you not train our men to do other than make war on the natives here before us in this land? We know not their purpose. Why not bring Christian greetings to them? Perchance we could trade and learn new ways of agriculture during this thaw, and share plenty at harvest.
Very well. We shall train for protection and trading, but we will make treaty with them for mutual protection and peace.
I will have you know that I have started a journal of our account, and of this winter into spring. I have written verse of steadfast faith and courage. Faint not, poor soul, in God we trust. Fear not the things thou suffer must. For whom he loves he doth chastise, and then all tears wipes from his eyes.
Our hearts were indeed broken this winter, but our tears now are dry with winter's thaw.
Our hearts were broken. Our hearts were broken. Sorrow, sorrow,
sorrow, sorrow. Our hearts were broken. Our hearts were broken.
Starving and frozen.
You saw us, you saved us. Our tears are drying. Our tears are drying. Thankful, thankful,
Thankful,
thankful.
our tears are drying.
Our tears are drying. The beauty of this land
Let's us see the true plan. I know we're worth our room on this earth.
we will be with you.
While the chief put sunshine on grief,
for his work, this new world and its birth. Yeah, 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 yeah.
For our salvation and the lives of our family, let us give thanks unto the Lord for this meal.
So class, what have we learned today?
That Plymouth rocks!
Yes.
That the Mayflower Compact was made and signed on the fly, with different groups of people who needed to solve a problem. It really shows the art of the deal.
Not exactly.
That the Mayflower passengers left for different reasons, religious callings, financial speculation, some of the sailors, because that was just their job. Just like people come today for many different reasons.
Very good.
In fact, in 1789, President George Washington issued the first Thanksgiving Day proclamation designated by the federal government.
Exactly right. It's all coming together.
That the Mayflower Compact was a real-life example of the social contract? A group of people emerging from the state of nature to agree to govern themselves based on first principles. Ideas at the heart of Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan, published 30 years later, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract, published in 1762.
Dude, none of us are gonna pass if you keep talking.
And it set the stage, just like the Magna Carta did, for the Massachusetts Body of Liberties in 1641, in the clear progression of the individual rights protected in the Constitution, including the right to free speech, the right to a jury trial, the right against cruel and unusual punishment, and even the right against takings without just compensation.
Are you just making this stuff up now?
And the Supreme Court has since invoked the Mayflower Compact in Establishment Clause cases, saying that the fact that the Founding Fathers believed devotedly that there was a God and that the unalienable rights of man were rooted in him is clearly evidenced in their writings, from the Mayflower Compact to the Constitution itself. C.E.G. Abington Township versus Shemp, 374 U.S. 204.
Did you really just say CEG? Well, alrighty then. Very good. I'm sure everyone here will get their CLE credit. So, about that President Washington Thanksgiving Declaration.
Can we see it? Was Hamilton there?
What's your name, man? Alexander Hamilton. Bam.
Actually, he was. He was the first Secretary of the Treasury. And he was there with all of President Washington's cabinet.
Let us see!
Let us see!
Let us see!
To the virtual bus!
We're being Zoom bombed!
This is obviously not a Zoom for government.
No, we're not. I just invited a friend to talk to us today. Benjamin Franklin, welcome. It's so great to see you, and your timing could not be better. We were just talking about how the Mayflower Compact set the stage for much of America's history.
I can't believe all this technology was made possible because I was flying my kite and got struck by lightning. This is really crazy. I could tell you about the Thanksgiving Proclamation myself, but I do believe George is around to help me. Is he on, George? Let me see.
Do you think he means the George Washington?
Like the one who cut down the cherry tree?
The one with the wooden teeth?
That's the one. George. George, are you on?
Good morrow, pupils.
Hold on a moment. I see that Aaron Burr is in the Zoom waiting room. Should I let him in, President Washington?
No, he always just wants to be in the Zoom where it happened.
It wouldn't be Thanksgiving without a little corn.
Now, class, down to lessons. I have before me a proclamation from the First Congress to establish a National Day of Thanksgiving. Mr. Franklin, I don't have my glasses. What does it say?
As Poor Richard once observed in his almanac, in the affairs of this world men are saved not by faith but by the lack of it. Of course, he also said there cannot be good living where there is not good drinking. But I digress. I remember that in the Continental Congress on December 30th, 1778, itself made a proclamation saying that even in the very midst of the Revolutionary War, we would observe a day of public thanksgiving and praise, that all people may with united hearts express a just sense of God's unmerited favors.
Our history, it does not extend long, but it is important. We must remember it, and we must remember what has brought us to this place of special favor and potential in this world. Oh, it seems the Vice President, John Adams, is in the waiting room. Miss Cole, would you let him in the Zoom room, please?
Sure. Here he is.
Mr. President, thank you. My ancestors have long been in America. In fact, we can trace our lineage to the Mayflower itself. Although our ancestors were not among the separatist pilgrims there, our distant grandparents were there nonetheless. We trace our lineage to John Alden and Priscilla Mullins. Now, John Alden, the ship's cooper, could have sailed on return to England after that first desolate winter, but he did not. Instead, he married Priscilla Mullins, the only survivor of William Mullins, one of the commercial adventurers. Now, both John Alden and William Mullins signed the Mayflower Compact that fateful day in November of 1620. Our son, John Quincy, has studied this journey and its larger purpose and would like to share a few thoughts. John Quincy, can you please step into this funny room?
Thank you, Father. I have a very long speech to recite about the Pilgrims.
Not again. When is this thing going to be over?
The commands of conscience were the only stimulus to the immigrants from Leiden. They undertook the voyage. They performed it in spite of numerous obstacles. They arrived upon a wilderness bound with frost and white with snow, without the boundaries of their charter, outcasts from all human society. And remarkably, they executed what we call the Mayflower Compact, that instrument of government by which they formed themselves into a body politic the day after their arrival upon the coast. That is, perhaps, the only instance in human history of that positive, original social compact, which philosophers have imagined as the only legitimate source of government. Here was a unanimous and personal assent by all the individuals of the community to the association by which they became a nation, that the dearest hopes of the human race may not be extinguished in disappointment, and that this last may prove the noblest empire of time.
Well said, young man. As Thomas Paine remarked, the cause of America is in a great measure the cause of all mankind. And more poetically, he wrote, round the consecrated rock, convene the patriarchal stock, and there, while every lifted hand affirmed the charter of the land, that pilgrim man so long oppressed had found his promised place of rest. Heirs of pilgrims, now renew the oath your fathers swore for you.
Class, did you know that Thomas Paine referred to them as pilgrims, just as their great governor William Bradford did in his journal?
When are we going to get to the Thanksgiving dinner part?
Oh, the proclamation. I almost forgot. On request of Congress, I do recommend and assign Thursday, the 26th day of November, 1790, to be devoted by the people of these states to the service of that great and glorious being who is the beneficent author of all the good that was, that is, or that will be, that we may then all unite in rendering unto him our sincere and humble thanks for his kind care and protection of the people of this country, previous to their becoming a nation, for the peaceable and rational manner in which we have been enabled to establish constitutions of government for our safety and happiness, and particularly the national one now lately instituted, for the civil and religious liberty with which we are blessed.
On the 11th of November this year, it will have been precisely 400 years since those desperate travelers, those pilgrims, those adventurers signed the Mayflower Compact.
along with the Massachusetts Body of Liberties 20 years later. It was an important step towards those rights that have now so long been cherished in this nation, our nation, as reflected in the first state constitutions, our national constitution, and the Bill of Rights.
Thus, as one small candle may light 1,000, so the light here kindled has shone to many, indeed to the whole nation and the world.
And let us remember, too, that what we pilgrims did, we did by unanimous consent, binding ourselves to each other for mutual protection, sustenance, and survival.
With trust, with hope, with goodwill and good faith, and with dreams for a better way of life for our children, dreams that continue to this day.
Far, but we traveled so far. We left our home and all we held so dear. Free, wanting just to be free. We huddled close in chase of a dream. On a boat called Mayflower, we journeyed to America, never going back again. Our lives are in America. Home. It once seemed so far away, but with devotion here today, they lived through the storm. They lived through the storm.
Home, our shining city on a hill, the eyes of the world upon us still. We put our lamp upon a stand to shed its light upon this land.
Now everyone around the world is looking to America. Every time our flags unfurl, it beckons to America. Pack your dreams and bring them here. There's a place in America. Join our lives in what we share. There's a place in America.
Your place is in America. Your place is in America. Your place is in America. Your place is in America. With us. With us. With us. With us. With us.
For a better ordering and preservation,
Join us.
we frame such just and equal laws.
Today, for the general good.
Join us.
For the general good.
Today. Today. Today.
Join us.
We'll sail away, we'll sail away, we'll sail